We are breaking a trend, ladies and gentlemen. I don't even have a haiku about writing a haiku or not writing a haiku. We are free-falling into this episode totally unprepared, soaring through the sky, dipping through the sacred fog fruit herb, being raised by echidnas, being taught by language. What more can you ask for? This is Slammin Stan, number 36. I am Vandal Drummond, and I am with Alfredo Esparza.
We're never prepared. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but this time we're, like, negatively prepared. We're like,
Yeah, but the good news is we already have a caller already on the line.
We already have a caller on the line.
Yeah.
Who is the caller?
The fourth Stan Farron.
Ah!
Dick.
Ooh, the one that we have to... I'm sorry?
He'll be talking about wrestling for us.
That's right. Yes, before we went on the air, Bix.
Yes?
Fredo and I were both commenting how we are so off the radar. We have not watched any wrestling in a long time. I still have not watched the first La Parka versus L.A. Park match.
Well, I've watched wrestling. I just haven't kept up with the news.
I have watched nothing. I don't know what's going on. I've just heard these cool names that make me want to turn into NXT, like Percy Watson and, what is it, Mike Huckleberry?
Michael McGillicuddy.
Oh, Mike McGillicuddy and Huckleberry Hound.
Husky Harris.
Yeah, Husky Harris. All these old Hanna-Barbera cartoon characters on NXT. I actually DVR'd the show, and I'm looking forward to it. I did watch UFC, but I practically had to fast forward through that awesome show because I have been so busy lately, but I couldn't even tell you what I've been busy with.
Watching chocolate commercials?
Yes, watching hallucinatory chocolate commercials. If you guys go on to Lucky Pierre's webpage, or is it Vandal Drummond's webpage? I can't remember.
I think it was Vandal Drummond's Facebook.
Yeah, you must check out this Japanese chocolate ad from the 70s. This is some bitchin' stuff. I guess the big news is that LeBron James has signed with AAA and he's wanting to have a one-on-one game with L.E. Bron.
No, when I was following it, I was just surprised when I put on ESPN to hear that he's going to be playing with Dwayne Wayne from a different world. I didn't know he was in the NBA.
Do you think that was a 1 hour special? Was it really worth a 1 hour special?
Sure.
Just a waste of time right there. And a lot of people watched it, of course. So.
I have had something frightening but fascinating happen to me this week.
Uh-oh.
Tuesday, I have all these podcasts loaded into my iPod, and I'm just sitting there in my cubicle doing my work, listening to, what did I listen to? I think I listened to Mail Order Zombie, part of the Dope Cast, Little Phil Hendry here and there, a lot of good stuff, and there's a few new casts that I had downloaded that I never heard before. One was some, overview on things like disco and stuff like that. I can't even remember what the podcast is called. But there is another one that just plays about a 12-hour block of music from one artist or one group. And I think it's something to shill some wares that, I think they have possession of a lot of catalog of music and are, just trying to hawk these. Well, you young ones, I don't know if you're old enough to know of Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
I've heard of them.
I think the best way, to somebody my age, at 48 years old, when I was a kid, this was the music that nightmares were made of. I can't even rightfully hum a tune, but it was the squarest music you could ever listen to. You wanted to show somebody how out of it and how blasé you were, you played Herb Alpert and his Tijuana Brass. These were the songs that were played at parties, populated by, beer-belly men, but with really bad hair pieces, lime green leisure slacks. After a lot of golf, smoking their pipes and drinking their dirty martinis, You know, and along with the bad hair pieces, you had, as Tom Waits would coin them, tobacco blondes and, peroxide blondes and tobacco brunettes. I mean, this was so out of it. And when I was a teenager, this music, I mean, just brought the bile up in my throat. These songs like Tijuana Taxi and Spanish Flea was another one of their hits.
Oh, I was going to ask if Spanish Flea was Herb Alpert.
That's right. I mean, the signature piece was the horn. And I had never seen a picture of Herb Alpert in my life. I pictured him as just the dumpiest, squarest-looking guy that ever walked this earth. So this new podcast I'm listening to, after, I listened to one of their podcasts where they do a little overview on the group Heart and play a few of their in-concert songs. And then they have a Tijuana Brass overview.
Did you just say that they went from Heart to Tijuana Brass?
Yeah, that is what's fascinating about this podcast is one day they'll play something like Heart. You know, they play, you know, there's no limit to what they play. I just think they have this huge catalog and they're just trying to give you a taste of it. And Give Me a Taste of It is what they did, because Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass, he starts off by playing their rendition of With a Little Help from My Friends. And I actually found myself listening to it, not playing with the fast forward button, not finding another podcast. I got through it. Then he started playing Herb Alpert's rendition of that song that Diana Ross and the Supremes performed, The Happening. A really awesome song. I'm gonna do a little overview on standtheembryo.com when this podcast is over, so people can just get this vision of what.
Are you really going to do it, or are you just making that up?
No, I am really going to do it.
You haven't updated on that. You haven't done anything on that site since you started on Facebook.
I know that site has been a desert island lately. Well, it's time to turn it up to new psychedelic levels, and it's not hard to do because. This song, The Happening, I always loved Diana Ross and the Supremes. Yes, I am a heterosexual man who loves Diana Ross and the Supremes, ABBA, The Village People, several Broadway musicals. So this poppy version of The Happening, played by Herb Alpert, is playing, and I find myself actually tapping my feet, ready to swivel in my chair, in my cubicle. I was actually ready to dance. That frightened me. Well, and my friend Irma, 2 cubicles over, actually had a whole CD of Herb Alpert, which she lent to me, and I was listening to it on the way home, and I'm saying, hey, I'm actually enjoying this.
That usually happens as you get older. You start liking music you never thought you would like.
Exactly. That's what frightened me. Am I going to wake up tomorrow and find that I'm trying to comb my hair backwards to cover the bald spots? Wake up with a Cuban cigar in my mouth, and this is strange. I'm having a bit of an identity crisis, I got to tell you, because anyway, that's about the most fascinating thing that happened to me at work, and
at least what you could tell us. The most fascinating thing that happened to you at work that you could tell us about.
That's true. I think I will leave the rest to the listener's imagination. What have I done at work that I should not have been doing?
You can't be telling us all the secrets.
What misbehavings do I commit when I'm at work? Well, I hope they're juicy and saucy, whatever they are, because if anybody knows about them, I'm not one of the people who know. So how was your guys' week?
That was good. Fredo?
Mine was great. I've been busy all week. How was your 4th of July, Kurt? Did you guys do anything? Or?
We had a full weekend of celebrating Elena's birthday, which is one of the reasons I didn't watch much wrestling. We had a few friends out to dinner on Saturday night. Sunday, we went to the obligatory 4th of July party. And then... here's another shift.
Uh-huh.
Monday was Elena's actual birthday. and I asked her what she wanted, and she wanted to turn me on to Glenn Ivy. Do you guys know what Glenn Ivy is?
What he is? I don't know who he is either.
Glenn Ivy. Actually, that would be a cool wrestling handle, but we probably could get sued for trademark. Glenn Ivy is this chain of spas where you go and you just boil in the jacuzzi and you get these hour-long massages, and then you put on your robe and you sit out in the solarium while they serve you cheese and fruit. And you know, you can opt to get, you know, champagne and wine, and I'm not just talking Boone's Hill Strawberry Farm wine or anything like that. I'm talking like the good stuff. They have this nice crackling fireplace, which was kind of odd during the day when the sun was out.
In Los Angeles.
In Los Angeles. So yeah, I got my 1-hour massage, which actually I did need. So yeah, this last past week has involved me eating cheese, did I sip wine? No, I didn't sip any wine.
Eating cheese, drinking wine, and listening to Herb Albert.
Yes, exactly. This whole...
I think that pretty much means you're old now.
Yeah, I think it does.
You're now officially middle-aged in spirit.
Wow. Oh, Lord, man, I've loved Hawaii Five-0 all these years. I'm afraid I'm going to start looking like one of the characters in Hawaii Five-0 now.
Well, you have the new Hawaii Five-0 coming out this fall, so maybe you can try to look like one of them.
I'm really curious to see what that's going to turn out like, because half the charm of Hawaii Five-0 was Steve McGarrett in his powder blue leisure suits, the opening sequence where he gives the Rock's eyebrow to the camera. And what I loved most about Hawaii Five-0 episodes is the way they portrayed young people, because they always talked like hipsters, like the way you'd hear hipsters talk in the Flintstones or something, you know. It's like, yeah, like, you know, Dano and McGarrett would go question, you know, some teenagers on the beach. And, of course, Dano and McGarrett were wearing full suits on the beach. And they're asking the kids, you know, like, have you seen Evil Eye anywhere? And they're saying, hey, man, we don't know anything about him. We're just here digging these cool waves, you dig?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say that the teenagers would talk like beatniks.
Exactly, yes. Yes, and then McGarrett would look at them very sternly and said, well, you tell your friends to dig this. So, yeah, I'm curious to see what the new Hawaii Five-0 will bring, but I don't picture it having the same schlock appeal.
I'm guessing it's not going to last that long.
Yeah.
I hope for Daniel Day Kim's sake it would last a while, because he seemed to really relish the opportunity to get cast in another Hawaii show with Lost ending. Well, that really worked out well, the timing on his part.
Yeah, to join Hawaii Five-0.
Yeah, that, you know, Lost ends, and he's living in Hawaii, and then another show starts that's filming there.
In Hawaii.
Oh. Yeah.
Boy, some people make just the right decisions.
You never have to leave Hawaii now.
That would be sweet. I could dig that.
I wonder if new shows I wonder if they plan around it as part of the economy or actor availability or whatever, that you're not going to have scheduling conflicts with a limited pool of Hawaii actors or whatever.
Yeah, well, that's one of the interesting stories about the original Hawaii Five-0 is the producer, whose name escapes me at the moment, he came up with this whole brainstorm of Hawaii Five-0, and I guess the other people, in the network were saying, well, we don't think it would be cost-effective to fly all our cameramen and, character actors out to Hawaii to, film the show. And he, I guess, firmly said, well, I don't intend to take actors from California to Hawaii. He says, I want to actually give people in Hawaii the jobs of, cameraman, best boy. Even some of the bit players in a lot of those episodes were either local actors or people who actually worked on the crew. I remember seeing an interview with a guy who played like a thug on one of the episodes, and I can't remember what he did on the set, but it was strictly, a blue-collar job he was doing. And I guess Jack Lord just said, "You're perfect for the part," and I think he said something to the effect of, "Well, I'm not an actor," and I guess Jack Lord was insistent, and he got his 5 minutes of fame.
That's cool.
Speaking of Lost, by the way, I watched a movie that you'd really like, Kurt, the other night. I don't know if you've seen it, the original version of The Stepfather with Terry O'Quinn.
No, I haven't. Was that the one that was made in the 80s?
Yeah, from 86, 87.
Stepfather. I'm writing that down because I remember when that was out, that was one of the movies I was trying to convince my buddies to see, and nobody wanted to take dibs on it. But that sounded like a fun one.
It's, originally sort of loosely based on John List, the guy who was like the first family annihilator. And
I don't know this story. Who is this?
A guy, John List, who was like the first high-profile family annihilator case. He lost his job, kept going to work for like a couple weeks, and then with the potential financial ruin and all that, killed his family, did not kill himself, ran away, started a new life, and was captured close to 2 decades later because of America's Most Wanted.
Oh, my Lord. I never heard that story before.
The Stepfather is basically about Terry O'Quinn as a guy who just keeps doing that over and over.
Ah.
And the focus is on, just like one family, but we see him at the beginning having just killed another one. But the impression is that
when you started describing the movie, the first thing I thought of was that Michael Douglas movie in the early 90s, Falling Down.
I don't know that one.
Was it Michael Douglas?
Yeah. Falling Down?
Yeah, the one where...
Yeah, where he goes nuts and he starts, killing or assaulting people and stuff.
Yeah, he starts going on this shooting spree. Of course, his as cracked as his character is, he's still doing something that a lot of people would see as noble.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a guy who just pretends to go to work after he's been laid off for some time and snaps.
Yeah. That was a good movie.
Yeah, that was a good movie. Very good, actually. Father movies or stepfather movies can be really, really disturbing. There's probably been a lot of fact that producers and screenwriters can base it on to really drive it home.
Any movies about stepfathers or just horror movies?
I'm sorry, what's that? I
said any movie about stepfathers or just horror movies?
One that was actually pretty factual, I thought was, again, I'm searching for names here. The one with Robert De Niro and Leonardo DiCaprio. Oh, This Boy's Life, which was actually based on the author's memories of growing up with an abusive stepfather. And actually, I found that one even more disturbing than than some horror movies.
Yeah. Interesting thing about also with the stepfather. Oh, I just totally lost my train of thought. One of the things I was going to say, though, was that Donald Westlake, who wrote the script, even, he had, worked in real-life stuff because he had just married a woman, who had where his stepdaughter was resenting him, and there was something else in Westlake's life that sort of resonated to help him write the script, and it's interesting, and it has a lot of black comedy elements in it.
Yes.
And, even, on the commentary, the director says it maybe done it a little too much, but it's a fun movie, and I think it's definitely the type of thing you'd like, especially knowing
that's going to be on my list.
Camp.
The things I have on my list that are next in line is, I think I mentioned on one of the recent podcasts that I got 2 of the Killink movies from Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
From a place called Wacko Video that is a regular vendor at Frank & Sons and is soon going to be putting up a website selling their wares. They have a great array of out there video. I'm getting to be a regular at Frank & Sons just to see their booth. Trippy glam rocker type of guy who looks like a cross between a member of Flock of Seagulls and the late Jeffrey Lee Pierce from the Gun Club.
He has Flock of Seagulls hair?
Yes, he does.
in 2010.
He does, and one of his favorite groups is the late 70s, early 80s glam group called Japan.
Oh, God.
I hope he's at least British.
No, he's a local boy. He's a local boy.
So he's a Californian with that hair in 2010.
Yes.
Mexican, too, huh?
Yes. He looks like he's about... He's tall, too. He's like about 6'3". He's quite the enigma. Doesn't quite look like he's in the proper setting or the proper era, but looks quite comfortable with himself all the same. And has had one Johnny Legend encounter, actually.
Oh.
So that kind of explains everything, I guess.
Johnny Legend's kind of normal, once you get to know him.
He is, actually. I remember Danny Wolf was a bit let down because, he had envisioned Johnny Legend, as this wild rockabilly fiend who, never takes the stairs but slides down the banister and is...
That's how I thought he was, really based off that video that they did. I always assumed that he was that crazy.
Yeah.
Well, he's the Rock and Roll Wrestling Music videos?
The Rock and Roll Wrestling. Yeah, that one.
Which is one of those videos we'll have to talk about one of these times on the podcast.
What happened?
I actually want to watch that video again because I remember seeing it once over 20 years ago.
I used to watch it every single day practically when I was a kid.
I remember you saying that. In fact, that's a good, interesting question is, when you were a kid, this was probably when your main focus was WWF,
NWA,
it's
and World Class, Lucha Libre.
Oh, so you got quite the array of promotions.
Oh, yeah, I watched all that stuff.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah, in Texas.
Oh, you lucky guys.
All that stuff.
That makes me feel even older. When I was a kid, it was Channel 13 Wrestling Saturday nights, Channel 34 Wednesday nights, and then certain UHF stations would show 3-year-old tapes from other territories sometimes.
Really? 3-year-old?
Yeah, there was a Spanish...
Tape.
What? Where? Who? How? There was a station, I remember it was Channel... It was whatever channel is now the Trinity Broadcasting Network, the wacko religious network run by Jan and Paul Crouch.
It's like in the 30s, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it was Channel 40 actually.
Yeah.
And when I was a little kid, it was a Spanish station, and on Thursday nights they would air old Indianapolis tapes.
Huh.
So I got to see people like Guy Mitchell and Tiger Longoria and the original Volkov brothers.
Tiger Longoria?
Don't ask me why.
I've never heard of him.
That's a funny thing. I cannot.
That's a great name, too.
Isn't it a great name? I love it. That's why I remembered it so well. I barely even remember what the fellow looks like. And I remember about 10 years later, my friend Tom Hankins, I mentioned the name Tiger Longoria, and he lit up and said, I remember Tiger Longoria because he made an appearance at some fan convention and needed a ride to the matches. And Tom was, I think, like 12 years old at the time and was saying to his dad, like, hey, can we give Tiger Longoria a ride to the matches? And his dad firmly said no. And I think if I remember right, he said he never forgave his dad for that. When you're 12 years old and you have the opportunity to ride with a wrestler.
Tiger Longoria.
Yeah, I'm just finding a couple results with him. Some posts some posts on Kayfabe Memories when I googled his name, and also on.
So you are finding some stuff of him.
And Mike Dupree's Wrestling Relics site about Indianapolis.
How long did it air?
It aired. I started watching it when I began watching wrestling in 1972, and I would say it aired maybe 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long it aired before that because I just started watching it.
Yeah. Oh, and of course, one of the Google results is a post by Lucha Pierre at Kayfabe Memories.
Everything leads to Kurt.
Trying to find, I don't even remember making that post, but I know it was me who made it, trying to probably find info on the guy.
We're trying to find info, and it's always Lucha Pierre.
Yeah, I know most wrestling fans are probably looking for information on Eva Longoria and where you can find naked pictures of her. But nope, Tiger Longoria still holds my fascination. what else was airing? On Channel 22...
Didn't you get WWF starting in the mid-'70s, too?
In 1975.
Yeah.
I can't even remember what station that was. But Channel 22 on Saturday nights showed wrestling from somewhere in Mexico. I don't think it was one of the main arenas. And then I think it was early in 1973 when they started airing Titanes in El Ring in place of that.
Kurt, did you like WWF back then?
Yeah, and I think the reason I liked it was because, it's funny, Carl Stern was saying something on his most recent podcast about how we used to flock to find the wrestling magazines back then.
Yeah.
And one of the things about the wrestling magazines was that was the only other, lifeline to any other wrestling outside your region. And so I think a good 3 years, I read all about Bruno Sammartino and Chief Jay Strongbow, the Valiants. And so when it started airing, my appetite was whetted for it. I had waited like 3 years to see what this other wrestling was like. And I think there were some things I liked about it and things I didn't enjoy. I think when we think of old school wrestling, we kind of have these rose-colored glasses. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I remember about a lot of those WWF tapings there were more missed moves or mistimed moves than I recall in most other promotions. There's always something hokey even about the best wrestling TV show. And actually, when I say with rose-colored glasses, I kind of look back on it fondly now. But, I remember Victor Rivera throwing drop kicks to a jobber, multiple drop kicks that led to the final pinfall, back in the days when drop kicks were a finish. Uh-huh. And I can't remember how many drop kicks he gave the guy, but 2 of those missed the guy by at least a foot, and the guy sold them.
Did they show a replay?
I don't think they did, but they never edited it out, too. I also remember, I think it was Tony Parisi, and I cannot remember who he teamed with, but they did this finishing move where...
Dominic Nucci?
I can't remember if it was him or Tony Parisi. One of them did a finishing move where the jobber would be lying spread eagle in the ring, and he'd leap off the top turnbuckle and hit him butt first. And sometimes the butt didn't even come close to touching the jobber. And the jobber would spasm and sell it. And
you turn around and look at everybody and say, there it is, it's fake. Look at that. The butt didn't touch his face. Come on.
Yeah, well, that was the beautiful thing about the fans. They cheered like crazy anyways.
Yeah.
I remember once Chris Candido, when he was doing that as his finish in WWF, that the job guy was facing the wrong way.
Uh-huh.
So he was on his back as Candido was climbing the ropes. He had to turn around 180 degrees.
Oh, no. Oh, I love it.
So he could take the butt drop properly.
Oh, God.
I think the silliest thing I did was in a match where somebody gave me an elbow drop that I was supposed to miss, or that he was supposed to miss. I rolled in the wrong direction. So his elbow missed me, but his midsection squashed my head.
Oh.
A brilliant move by Vandal Drummond.
Oh.
I always wondered when Arn Anderson and other guys tried to do a double axe handle onto a guy who's laying down and gets kicked in the face, and they get, what are they trying to do?
That's the question of the evening. Maybe that should be the new trivia question.
And whoever comes up with the best answer wins?
Yes, I actually like that. Speaking of since this is a free-form Thursday night show and we've had absolutely no format thought out, it's dawned on me, we've gone several podcasts where we never revealed the answer to the last trivia question.
I asked you on the Slammin Stan page who won the trivia.
What was the last trivia question?
The trivia question was in memory of the recently departed Kinji Shibuya, was when he turned babyface in Los Angeles in 1972, what was the nickname they gave him?
I have no idea.
Now, it surprised me. Remember how the first trivia question we put out there was who was the woman wrestler who appeared on Match Game. And it was Lola Kiss.
Weeks and weeks.
Yes, but I got tons of guesses. I got a lot of email guesses. Then the second trivia question, which I think is my favorite one, actually, was who was the subject of the Tijuana Bible?
Right.
Which was Jim Londos. People guessed away at that one. I got multiple guesses by multiple people. Everybody guessed it until a friend of mine who is not even a wrestling fan did a little research and somehow found out that it was indeed Jim Londos. I'm impressed he found it because I had trouble. I did a little test search to see how easy it was to find. This one, the Lawman, the answer has appeared in several newsletters in the last year, and several places online. I didn't get one guess, well, until two people guessed, and they both guessed correctly. Now, the first guess was given by Scott Walton. Now, he played heel in guessing the name, the Lawman, because his father is Jeff Walton, who was a publicity man for Los Angeles wrestling in the 1970s when that angle took place. And it'd be kind of silly giving him the prizes, because the prizes were a copy
of Jeff Walton's book.
Yeah, of Jeff Walton's book, which Scott did the editing for.
You probably have a stack right there already.
Then the other prize was the Bret Hart DVD. And Scott Walton is not a Bret Hart fan by any means. So I have to give him an alternate prize, and it should be something heel-related, since he played heel to win this baby. But the only other person to guess it and guess correctly was the person we mentioned recently, Tom Hankins, who came up with the guess. So Tom Hankins gets the loot, and I was actually pleasantly surprised to find out he neither read the book nor saw the Bret Hart DVD. So,
and now he hates Bret Hart. Am I right? No?
I don't know. But I want to give a special salute to Tom right now. Tom Hankins lost his mother on July 4th, who lived to the ripe age of 100.
Wow.
Yes. And she raised quite a hepcat of a son in Tom Hankins. Been friends almost 30 years with this guy. And, he is kind of always a bit of a wildcat there, but he took good care of his mom in recent years. She suffered from Alzheimer's, and he took very good care of her. And I never got to meet her, but she raised a really cool son. So I just want to give a salute up to the stars and her, up into the heavens. I know my friend Tom is an atheist, but I firmly believe that there is something after this life. I think it takes the form of some groovy space-age bachelor pad up in the stars, but so that's my salute to Mrs. Hankins. And well, I guess maybe this is a good time to come up with another trivia question. I like the one you posed, Bix. I think we should have a mini panel and have people mail in the answers and see who comes up with the most creative ones.
So the best answer, to what is Arn Anderson trying to do when he tries to do a double axe handle on someone who's laying down and gets kicked in the face?
Okay, so that is the equivalent of the trivia question, ladies and gentlemen. Send those answers to Liger, Lyger, at AOL.com. We're going to peruse these answers, and whichever one just sounds just wickedly cool to us is the winner. So there's no really right or wrong answer unless one of the answers just totally turns us off if we just think they're plain retarded or anything, but let's go for that.
One of the wrestlers is going to get it. There's going to be one wrestler that's going to end up emailing you and telling you the exact what's going on during that. What Arn Anderson is trying to do right there.
Yeah, well, one thing we have to people should remember is that one of the three of us, me, loved Argentina wrestling, is very proud to have been part of Incredibly Strange Wrestling. So the most logical answer is not necessarily the correct answer.
I was going to say, and not only was part of and very proud to be part of Incredibly Strange Wrestling, was also incredibly proud at placing in Most Disgusting Promotional Tactics.
Yes, we came in number 5 in 1995.
What was
now, that was for Abortionist, right? That was for Abortionist?
It was for Incredibly Strange Wrestling, period.
Oh, it was in general? Oh, it was not just for Abortionist?
Yeah, exactly. It just period. Just the whole Incredibly Strange Wrestling phenomenon.
First.
I gotta go look.
First in 95. I bet it dealt with either probably WWE or one of the Von Erichs or something.
No, the Von Erichs were probably dead by then, weren't they?
Yeah.
They were all dead.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. I'm boy. Another sign of getting old is I'm getting my timeline wrong.
It wasn't anything that bad.
I don't think that was that the year. Was that the year that Gene Okerlund got Most Disgusting for?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for the Wonder number, right?
It's when Crusher Blackwell passed away, and he had the hotline, and on WCW he hinted that a 40-something wrestler has passed away, and I can't remember what he said, but
I remember it was a former world champion in his 40s. The idea was to make you think it was Flair or Backlund.
Yes, that's right. That's right. That one Most Disgusting, and we came in number 5. And there was a letter. I wish I had bookmarked this issue. I probably still have it somewhere.
I think you do have it because I think I might have seen it.
Oh, the one where somebody writes into Dave Meltzer and begs him not to cover Incredibly Strange Wrestling.
Yeah, but Incredibly Strange Wrestling. Yeah, he did. Yes.
And then I can't remember what I wrote in response, but he published my letter, and the person essentially had written Dave a letter saying that this is a disgrace to the sport and it's ridiculing it, and it's something along the lines of it's trashing the noble nature of the sport. And I wrote something in response saying, okay, I've wrestled for a number of these so-called straight shooter promoters who want to promote traditional, upstanding wrestling, and I was always surprised when they either paid me very little or less than they promised, or sometimes not at all. I even had a promoter, I suspect, gig himself and say, oh my God, I'm bleeding, because he was wrestling in the main event, and booked out of there to say I had to go to the emergency room.
Hell, one guy who wanted to promote clean-cut, straight-shooting traditional wrestling was Herb Abrams.
That's a very good point. Oh my God! And
don't
Dan
you remember
Farron,
the opening to those UWF shows? With all about tradition and Bruno and blah, blah, blah.
And Dan Farron could tell you some good Herb Abrams stories.
Yeah, Dan should call in right now.
I know, Dan, call in, damn it. But so I basically wrote in response, we wrestle for Johnny, and at that time we were getting paid quite handsomely. And if there was ever a show where he couldn't pay us what he was normally pay us, he'd be up front with us and say, this is how it is, guys. But by that time, Incredibly Strange Wrestling got to be the greatest block party in Southern or Northern California. And while we never told him this, a lot of us would have done it for free. In fact, I think the one time we did actually do it for free was the Lollapalooza gig.
You guys were just thrilled to go to. Yeah,
that was just fun to just be part of that. So anyway, that was our 5 minutes of fame in the Wrestling Observer Annual Reader Awards.
I'd love to know what number 2 through 4 were.
I know, that's what I'm trying to think.
Because I can't think of what it would have been that year. I mean, the Okerlund thing, of course, that won. The Gangsters had gotten past their most explicit stuff in Smoky Mountain and then left for ECW. Knowing the Observer readers, Ric Flair in a dress probably was up there.
Oh, Lord.
This was like before Nitro, wasn't it? All that stuff?
Yeah, Nitro was just like the last 4 months.
Yeah. Because I don't remember anything prior to Nitro on WCW. Like, I skipped all that.
That year or in general?
Yeah. That year I don't remember watching anything from that.
Well, that was when the Dungeon of Doom was edited.
Yeah. Oh, well, there's another one, Dungeons of Doom. They have to be in there.
So, discussion for the show?
Yeah.
Dungeon of Doom was genius, though.
Yeah, that I don't know if that would have been that bad. Maybe the Zodiac.
I would love to know one of these days the origin behind It's Not Hot.
Behind what?
Hogan touching up the fountain when he's trapped into the Dungeon of Doom. He falls into the Dungeon of Doom. He walks up to a fountain, touches the water, and goes, it's not hot.
Oh, Lord.
I just remember the Yeti.
The Yeti!
The Yeti was pretty cool, though.
Who's the mummy?
I like the ending to that Nitro when the Yeti comes out. That was pretty good.
I loved that.
Yeah, I don't know why people hate
my God.
And remember, they weren't bandages. He wasn't a mummy. That was exploded ice. That just looked like bandages.
Yeah, it was there the whole time, too. That was like...
I was tripping out when I saw that, and I was so disappointed not to see any further adventures of the Yeti. I thought that...
Oh, you saw him in the Giant sexually assaulting Hogan, didn't you?
Yeah, at Halloween Havoc.
Oh, I didn't see that. No, I missed that.
Oh, my God, you've never seen that?
The Yeti tried to rape Hulk Hogan?
Yes, you have to find this on YouTube.
Oh.
The Giant puts him in a bear hug. Yeah, and then the Yeti lumbers out as, Shivani screams, and it's the Yeti! And then he, does his mummy walk over to Hogan, just gently puts his arms around him, and just
my God,
starts humping him.
Was this like the 90s recreation of William Shakespeare's The Tempest or something like that?
I don't know. I remember Bruce, as a youngin, I first learned about gay porn in the Torch from Bruce Mitchell's line about how it contained moves usually reserved for Jeff Stryker movies.
Oh, Lord. We actually used the name Jeff Stryker in one of the stipulation matches in Incredibly Strange Wrestling.
What loser? Jeff Stryker?
It was when Baby Bitch Drummond was feuding with La Femme Nikita Koloff, and the winner got a collection of ABBA CDs and Jeff Stryker videos.
Wait, you got to find that on YouTube, though.
Oh, I do have to look. No, I just saw the Yeti break from the ice, and I just thought, oh, my God, finally WCW is onto something.
Yeah, if you just Google Yeti Hogan, you'll see the first two results, the Yeti dry humps Hulk Hogan and the Yeti attacks Hogan.
Oh, I love it.
You got to love that Sullivan got King Curtis a job, though, too, in 1995.
I'm sorry?
You got to love that Kevin Sullivan got King Curtis a job for that.
I give kudos to anybody who can give one of the legends a job. One of the people who deserves the job.
Oh yeah, and this is when Luger turned heel too. Just put on.
Yeah, just right about that time.
I love the way Shivani says, "And the Yeti." It was always the Yeti. Maybe that's why he wasn't an abominable. No, maybe that's why he was a mummy. That he wasn't the Yeti, he was the Yeti.
He's Yeti, and he will practice karate.
Yeah, he just puts his arms loosely around Hogan. He's not even touching Hogan. He's really touching Hogan.
Oh, Lord. I can't believe I missed it, and didn't. Even more so, I can't believe I haven't heard of this before.
Yeah, his groin. Well, he's not really. Yeah, his groin is the only part that's close to touching Hogan.
Oh, we'll call him La Momia Homosexual.
The good old days, WCW.
Oh man, that's wow.
Someone should have a pink mummy. Like, didn't Titanes in El Ring or someone have different color? Oh no, it was one of the Japanese indies that had different colored mummies.
There actually was. I can't remember if there was a pink mummy or they were planning on a pink mummy in Titanes in El Ring.
I'd love an Exotico mummy.
Yeah. What they were going to do was they were going to have the mummy, La Momia, was going to have a girlfriend. And she was going to be a pink mummy.
That is amazing.
And I don't know if this is on YouTube, but I do have this on DVD, so I can divvy this to people. But I believe it was the Luna Park show in 1983 when La Momia was feuding with the android, and he came to the ring with his son, El Hijo de la Momia. A little mummy came to the ring with him. It was awesome. And I later found that the El Hijo de la Momia was, in fact, Ruben Elancho Puccelle's son. And speaking of which, if there's any Titanes in El Ring fans listening, Ruben Pucelle has a Facebook page. Huh. And it is fun to just peruse the old photos he has. He even, on his Facebook album, has photos of him hanging with a young, and I mean really young, Colosso Colosetti back in 1967. And scores a picture of his son hanging with the Titanes troupe. It's really a cool both family and wrestling album. But Puccelle's son played the son of the mummy, and the greatest spot was when the android, who is being commanded via remote control by a mad scientist, is doing something really terrible to the mummy. And El Hijo de la Momia actually does, well, I wouldn't call it a run-in, but a crawl-in or a drag-in into the ring to try to help his father. And La Momia actually escorts his son back to the corner and kind of lectures him like, no, you can't be doing that. Argentina had it all.
So the android being controlled by remote control came after the Lars Anderson robot, though.
Yes, he did. So maybe it would have been appropriate if Martin Cardagian said based on an inspiration by Lars Anderson. Or inspired by Lars Anderson.
That was a Tom Ernesto thing. He was booking then in Los Angeles,
don't think
right?
he was booking yet.
Oh, he wasn't?
This was 1976, and I'm curious who was booking, to be honest with you, because the following year is, in 1977, is where they did the angle where Roddy Piper would hypnotize his wrestlers.
Right.
With a watch. And it was comical watching Keith Franks, the future Adrian Adonis, like walking like a monster and pinning his opponent after being hypnotized.
You should ask Jeff Walton. I'm sure he'll know.
Yeah, I'll have to ask him that, because of all the questions I have not asked Jeff Walton, I did not ask him who was booking during this, genius period. But, yeah, Ernesto did do the monster. Mm-hmm. And Bigfoot, who was Salvador Lothario.
Oh, I didn't know about Bigfoot.
Yeah, Bigfoot only was around for about a month or two. What happened was the monster turned babyface because they realized that Pete Collins and Goliath were abusing the poor monster, and Tom Ernesto learned how to control the monster with a flashlight. Yeah, he did like a Morse code or something. Not Morse code, but, what is it? Where you signal via the flashlight and,
Morse code.
Leave it to the labels. It was a very cheap flashlight at that. And
it wasn't
so
like a heavy-duty, electric flashlight that you'd see, like, an electrician or something carrying.
Yes, exactly. This was like what you get at thrifty drugstores,
It was one of those little Duracell flashlights.
Yeah, something like that.
You know what I was talking about, the ones in the Duracell colors with the weird shape?
The weird shape and the neon colors?
It was like, with the Duracell, copper top color, shaped kind of weird.
Yes,
I know what
you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, after the monster turned babyface, then I can't remember if it was either Pete Collins or Bobby Lane brought in Bigfoot, who was another monster who was played by Sal Lothario. And, the payoffs must have been sweet because I think Sal stuck around for maybe 3-4 weeks. But yeah, what else did... Oh, there was one show that I wish I went to. The Sheik came in, probably the last appearance he made for the LaBelle promotion. And on one of the shows, he wrestled the monster, in San Bernardino.
Wow.
And I had a friend who went there who said that the Sheik squirted lighter fluid on the monster and set him on fire. I would have loved, like, back, this is 1982. The Sheik, and he didn't throw fire at him, he set him on fire. And, you know, that would have been just too cool. The monster, who always came into the arenas wearing platform shoes.
Oh, and speaking of LA in '82, I wanted to ask you about had the Observer, you know, had that Scorpio senior bio a week or two back, and it mentioned that in LA in like the dying days in '82 that he feuded with Chris Adams as the ugliest man in the world the ugliest wrestler in the world versus the handsomest wrestler in the world.
Yeah, you know what's funny is I remember seeing him wrestle in LA. But I'm drawing a blank at who he feuded with, but that sounds right. It must have been Chris Adams, because Chris Adams did just return around that time. And I remember a friend and I were saying, like, the ugliest wrestler in the world? I mean, he wasn't pretty by any means. In fact, the only thing that was really ugly is if you saw his face close up, he had a lot of pockmarks in his face.
And he did have a big nose.
He had a big nose. Yeah, he was by no means a handsome guy, but they made Scorpio jokes about his ugliness for months after he left, even.
Well, that was his gimmick everywhere in the U.S., though, that he was the ugliest wrestler in the world.
That's true. Well, I guess maybe he dug it and went with it. Because I remember months later when Adrian Street did an angle with Mil Mascaras, where he wanted to win Mascaras' mask, he did some poem where he said, something like, when we unmask Mascaras, you know, we'll see what a fella, he makes Scorpio look like Cinderella. And then the only other time I saw Scorpio was in a tag match at the Olympic. He teamed with, was it Babyface?
Probably
Super Astro and somebody else. And
Super Astro was working LA then?
Yeah, actually this was in 1987, and Super Astro did a lot of local appearances.
Oh, okay, this is later on. So this is
later on. But Super Astro actually started out in the Tijuana and independent scene in California. I saw him at a lot of really small shows, like in Hadco Plaza, when he just started out in 1981. But I'll never forget, you know, Super Astro's signature move where he does like he's going to do the pescado over the top rope, but lands on the guy who's laying on the ground outside the ring.
Oh, the reverse tope?
Yeah, where he just kind of somersaults onto the guy.
Oh, no, oh, that, okay, yeah.
Yes, and, well, he did that to Scorpio, and I'll never forget, Fizzy and I were sitting just like 4 or 5 rows back, and we just saw him land on Scorpio's head in a very unnatural way. Scorpio stands up, and you just see blood gushing down that head. And it looked like it didn't faze him. He was just kind of like, all in a day's work for Scorpio.
Actually, one of my favorite Super Astro matches, I think, is from L.A. I think Fredo knows the one I'm talking about, where it's him and Solar against Blue Panther, and I think Sergio Hermoso.
Yes. That was that same year. In fact, that was just a few weeks before the Scorpio match.
Yeah.
That's a great match.
Yeah, that was a fun,
really awesome match.
Super Astro was a fun wrestler to watch.
He's still around, too, so.
Yeah, he's still kicking it, isn't he?
He looks kind of like Abdullah now, though.
Like a tiny Abdullah.
That would be great. A flying Abdullah the Butcher.
Kind of looks like Tamba, then.
Yeah.
Tamba the flying
he's, you know, he's big and bald and round. Well, not big, round.
Yeah, round.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, is the thing with his height, is that legit, or did they work it down a little bit?
No, he's a small guy.
He is 5 feet and 1/2 inch tall.
He's a little dude. In fact, that's what tripped us out when we first saw him. And it was even funnier because Meltzer and I hung with him a little bit in Japan, and we were also hanging with Medusa some. And in the dressing room one night, Super Astro was just flirting away with Medusa, which was really funny because she's pretty tall and he looks like a little boy next to her.
Wait, was this the trip that Mike Lano was on?
No.
Because I was going to say he would have gotten jealous that Super Astro didn't have to pay.
That's right. His love letters would never have gotten to her.
I was going to say Super Astro didn't have to pay to go out on a date with her.
That's right.
So that's a true story.
But no, Super Astro was flirting with her, and I actually have photos of Negro Casas flirting with her, too. It's funny, he's there.
Yeah, come on.
He's there just being real flirt. It's great. It's a photo of Medusa, Negro Casas, and Meltzer. And Negro Casas is just trying to say, I love you, and she just is like, yeah, whatever. And Meltzer just, in the photo, is just chuckling like, this is amusing.
You have to post this on, you have to scan this photo and post it on Facebook.
I will find it. It actually, it actually made Wrestling World magazine. Although the caption, I put down on the caption like, Negro Casas tries to impress Medusa. She doesn't look impressed, but Meltzer looks amused. But the caption they put was like, here Dave Meltzer is in Japan with Casas and Medusa. Bet he got a lot of fascinating wrestling news from them. And I said, oh, great, make me look like a total retard.
I was going to say, I was hoping that they would have called him Mark Young in the caption.
Called him which?
Mark Young. Alfredo doesn't know what I'm talking about.
I know who Mark Young is, but I don't know.
No, it's in the thing that Kurt wrote for the Observer about that trip. That everywhere Dave would go, people would think he was Chris Benoit, and then maybe someone else too, and then one fan said he looked more like Mark Young, and Dave was sad, and then Kurt said, "Oh no, I think you look more like Chris Benoit."
Although I wonder if he had changed his feeling now.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, but people actually went up to him asking him for autographs. They thought he was Chris Benoit and kept wanting him to sign programs, and he said, "No, I'm not Chris Benoit." But then we were at a show where Dustin Runnels was on the card, and I guess I can't remember what it was. I think Dustin Runnels didn't like something about what Dave wrote about Dusty in one of the Observers.
Of course.
And so I can't remember how Dave knew this, but there was a kid who was having all the wrestlers sign his T-shirt and thought Dave was Chris Benoit. And I can't remember why he knew this, but he knew that Dustin was going to be asked in the next hour or so. So Dave just, instead of saying, I'm not Chris Benoit, he just wrote in really big letters, Dave Meltzer. But yeah, that last night, the kid, another kid asked him for an autograph, wanted Mark Scarpa's autograph, and he's just like, oh dear.
And you got to be a pretty hardcore wrestling fan to really want Mark Scarpa's autograph.
Yeah. I guess hardcore would be the right term to.
I mean, was he in Japan? How recently would he have been in Japan? Anyway?
He was actually on that tour.
Oh, he was on that tour.
Yeah, okay, he was on that tour.
Well, it's still Mark Scarpa, so my point.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't, he tried, but he didn't really light up the rings on that tour.
Hell of a dancer, though.
What's that?
Hell of a dancer.
Hell of a break dancer. Yeah, he was hep and with it. But, I think I was about to say something else, and
you're distracted now by the Chris Benoit story.
That's right. Yes.
Trying to figure out if Dave would be offended by Dave.
It's weird to think that Japan trip was 20 years ago. God, man, I'm feeling really old now.
Oh yeah, it's 20 years ago this month, isn't it?
Or
yeah, last month.
Last month. Yes. Yeah, just saw some incredible wrestling in that time.
And now you wouldn't go now, would you?
Yeah, just to go to another continent if somehow I had the bucks to do it. Yeah, I'd go in a heartbeat.
To watch the
of course, I'd be trying to find the funkier tastes of wrestling, the DDTs, the new women's scene, I'd hope to find something. I mean, it's funny. I remember hearing about how just pure and athletic Japan wrestling was when I was younger, and I love they're becoming more surreal than anything we could dream up these days. I mean,
DDT, well, Hustle's not around anymore, but Hustle.
They're back, aren't they?
Are they back?
Yeah, they're back. The new guy, one of the other guys is running it now.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember his name, but I just noticed it.
Yes. Oh, man. Well,
did you ever end up watching any DDT? Because I remember for a while you hadn't seen any.
I have some. I remember watching some a few years ago. I have a vague memory of it, only that I thought it was genius.
I think
I actually have I have a huge stack of DVDs that Alfredo made for me a few months ago that I've just barely scratched the surface on. In fact, maybe that should be the goal for the next podcast.
Yeah, I think I gave you the DDT show where the Suki was gets inside that barrel. Remember it what's his name? Takagi with his Benton bomb or whatever that thing he does.
Oh, okay. That's on the one that you recently gave me?
Yeah. No, not recently. That was a long time ago. Last year, I think.
Oh. Okay, yes.
The DDT show. That big old show where they had like the bell out in one of the bigger buildings.
Sumo Hall, wasn't it? I think they sold that Sumo Hall.
Yeah, one of probably their biggest show ever. So.
Man, my memory is going. Man, I'm relatively sober most of the time. Maybe I should start taking drugs.
Yeah.
Oh, man, maybe I should start frying this mind, and maybe I'll get a sharper memory bank here. Well, I definitely have homework for the next Slammin Stan. And before I forget, I don't think I even told you this, Fredo.
Uh-huh.
We're going to be on hiatus because Elena and I are going to be on vacation.
Oh.
And so let's see. Our godsons are going to be living at the house while we're gone. So unless you want to do the show with them and talk to people who don't know anything about wrestling.
Isn't this the Mastodon fan?
Yes.
Yeah,
my godson Michael and his little brother Eric, they're going to be rocking this house for about a week while we're gone.
We'll be talking metal next, though.
There you go. Hey, maybe we should suggest it.
No, I know.
Well, it's interesting because we covered a lot of diverse subjects in the first 20 minutes of this show before we got to any wrestling. I thought it was rather fascinating. I don't know what the listeners think, but I dug it.
I bet we could get Rob Naylor on and then see if anyone notices that Kurt's not there.
That would be awesome.
They'll notice when he doesn't bring up Southern California wrestling, though.
That's right.
You can get him to talk about PWG or something, or
that's true.
Older Millennium Pro.
Yeah, maybe talk. Yeah, just have him come on and say hi. This is Vandal Drummond. I mean, there's been a number of Dan Farrens. There should be able to be a couple of Vandal Drummonds out there. So Vandal Drummond has played almost every wrestler under the universe in Incredibly Strange Wrestling, so maybe every other wrestler should be playing Vandal Drummond.
Sure, you won't be doing any Figure 4 dailies then.
Yeah?
You won't be around? Where you headed?
Hawaii.
Oh.
Yes, Hawaii, where we have not been in 15 years.
Oh.
And shortly after I recovered from lymphoma, that was one of the things we were talking. We got to do Hawaii. We went twice before and loved it, and so that's where we will be. Well, anyways, I think this might be a good place to wind up the show.
Sure.
So, looks like it was we didn't have cuatro rudos tonight. I guess we just had 3 brazos here.
You're still waiting for Dan to call in?
Yeah, exactly.
And calling it now. We're on the streaming now. Oh, no.
I was going to say, I'm going to have to hassle him for that.
Yeah, we're not streaming anymore. Is this like the first time that I'm how long that I'm the only one that called in?
Yeah. I know, that's true, isn't it?
The last, few months it's been either Dan or Dr. Lucha or Kevin Kleinrock or...
This is true.
Larry Park.
It kind of gets complicated when everybody else is on this show for some reason.
I know the hacking off to the next person talking is kind of out of sync,
Yeah, I think that's probably why they don't want to call us that.
Well, I enjoyed the show. I think this is the first time we absolutely positively just winged it, went in with absolutely no game plan or anything. And
this is like the 5th time we've done that.
And no haikus.
Yeah, the haiku.
No haiku, yeah. No, I mean, that's how unprepared we were. No, usually we at least had a couple of things we say, okay, we're going to talk about this. We've had very loosely. What's that?
I could have talked about Triple Mania, but that's already been like a month ago.
Yes, yeah.
2 months ago already, so.
Yeah, and I thought the build-up was better than the actual Triple Mania itself.
Well, it's only the one match really was the only big deal out of it, the Laparca match. Everything else kind of just blew.
Well, so I guess Fredo and I will talk about what day we return to the airwaves.
Okay.
And until then, ladies and gentlemen, remember, if you're walking through Southern California and you see a bright light flying across the sky, it's not a shooting star. No, it is a heavenly handful of Monster powder. Sweet dreams, ladies and gentlemen. See you in 3 or 4 weeks.
Have a good trip.
Thank you. Take care of my cats.